Welcome to Artscape. I'm your host, Bill Harris, and today we have a great show for you. We're very fortunate in this area that we have a lot of world-class artists, painters, potters, musicians, poets, and today we have a world-class tattoo artist. I'm joined here today with Kenny Brown, owner of Jack Brown's Tattoo Revival on Princess Anne Street. Kenny, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Kenny, we have a lot to talk about today. We have your tattoos, we got your artwork, but I'd like to start, if we could, with a little bit of history of tattooing, history of tattooing, and then how you got involved in it.
Well, if you're going to go back to the history of tattooing, you have to imagine some cavemen hanging around a fire, and one of them trips and falls in a fire and pokes himself with a burn-up stick. When that wound healed, the carbon was underneath their skin, and that mark didn't go away. You got to believe that's probably the origin of tattooing, and ever since, it's just every culture has embraced it, and it's been done in every kind of style imaginable.
So you'd probably say that tattooing is probably the oldest art form.
I would say easily one of the oldest, if probably just beat by cave painting, you know.
Yeah. All right, that's painters beat you. Tattooers.
Yeah,
okay.
Painters win. Painters win.
All right.
You go forward, and once the sailors started to enter these different civilizations, obviously they would collect artwork, tattoos, and they'd bring them back to the Western civilization, Western society. And at first it was taken by the rich. Only the rich would get tattooed. Because it was so exotic.
Right.
But once the navies were so large, it really became something of the working class.
And that's back into World War I?
Oh, way even before.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we're talking, before colonization of America. So, that goes forward, and then right around the turn of the century, early 1900s is when electrical tattooing became popular, when that was invented. And what happens is that changed everything, because you could get the job done quickly with a lot less pain than the old hokey pokey style. And the equipment's almost identical to what it was when it was first invented, right around the 1900s. Right? And what's interesting about that is people come in and they think that there's all these modern advances in it and devices, but it's still the same equipment.
One of the things I've noticed about tattooing is if you go back into in America, like early 40s, 50s, 60s, it seems a lot different. It would almost be like a tattoo here, a tattoo here. Now it seems like it's all integrated, and you work on compositions, and it's a little bit more advanced. At least that's what I see.
Yeah, well, and what that is you have an American style tattoo. An American style tattoo is the Japanese call them a one point, and it's basically a single design that's usually accomplished in one sitting. And then you get a collection of them, and then you fill it in with whatever.
You know what's interesting, I didn't realize that about tattoos as well, is people collect them like they collect artists.
Absolutely.
So somebody would go to you for a tattoo and then go to another artist.
Absolutely.
And they're almost like small art collections on
some
their body.
Some people become very serious patrons for a specific artist, but then you have people that literally just go all over the world just collecting from people that they want a piece of their artwork.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It really is kind of like art for the working class, really.
Right. Let me ask you this: how did you get involved? Were you 10 and all of a sudden you said, "Hey,
No, I wanted to draw comic books. I was a comic book nerd. My best friend Scott Junkins, up in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, he was just always going to be a tattooer. And when he finally got the job, I'd go and hang out with him. A guy named Dixon Keller gave him the job, and when he was busy working, I would do what I normally do: just doodle on the corners of pieces of paper, and because I'm a slob, I'd leave them laying around. And he found the doodles and said, I'll teach you how to tattoo if you want. So I took about a week off, came back, and bit the bullet, and went for it, and I haven't looked back since. 19 years old.
Okay. Answer me this. How does the apprenticeship work? Because you don't just become a tattoo artist. I don't just walk into a store and become a tattoo artist.
I had a pretty... not a very long apprenticeship. The shop I started at maybe wasn't the highest quality shop in the world. We were producing good work, but it was more or less, let's get this guy up to speed and start pushing him out, get him working. That's kind of a sort of a worker's mentality of an apprenticeship. A good apprenticeship should last anywhere from a year to 2 years, which entails lots of scrubbing equipment and mopping floors and snaking toilets. That's the majority of an apprenticeship. See if you got the gall to stick it out.
Now you have apprentices yourself, right?
Yes.
And you've trained quite a few tattoo artists.
Yes.
Aren't you kind of creating your own competition?
In a sense, but I mean, without sounding too romantic about it, the idea that I'm bringing someone into this industry that I love so much and that they're going to hopefully surpass me with what I've accomplished and do something even greater for the industry, which, because I've done virtually nothing for it. And that, I mean, it's kind of like the proud papa type of thing, like they're like kind of I feel kind of like they're my kids without, I don't want to be condescending, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'm just a softie.
Yeah. Do you think there's any misconceptions about tattoos, tattoo artists from the public that maybe don't have tattoos?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I mean, if you want me to be honest about it, one of the reasons I decided very early on that I was going to get heavily tattooed was because it's kind of always been a little easy to walk all over me. So, it's sort of, what's my buddy call? He calls it nerd armor,
Oh, is that right?
You look at me, you might think twice before trying to take advantage of me, but
but see, I know you're a big softie.
Yeah, see, you know me well enough though, Bill, that's the thing.
All right, let me ask you this. Where do you think tattoo art is going? Do you think, it seems to me like in the last 50 years it's really progressed. What do you see it in the next 50 years? Like 50 years from now, what do you see art looking like?
Well, the thing that's interesting is when I started in the 90s, there was a complete abandonment of our history, of where the art had come from. We came in gung-ho thinking we were going to change the world and revolutionize this industry that's been around for 2000, and the problem with that is you dismiss all the building blocks, and without a good foundation, and you know this as well as I do, without a foundation, how can you break a rule if you didn't know the rule in the first place?
Right.
There was no internet, no one talked to each other, and then the internet happened, and all of a sudden, all the tattooers started talking to each other, and there was a resurgence to the historical, early American traditional, early Japanese traditional, and now you take these and find out what made those work. They look as good now, 70 years later, as they did the day they were done, the good ones.
Right.
And that's the beauty. Now we've all ensconced ourselves in this media and figured out, okay, we can use these as our starting spots. Now where can we go with it?
Right.
And still create a tattoo that's a solid, beautiful tattoo that's going to stand the test of time. And that's the most important thing. Is we just are constantly striving to do a tattoo that's not only going to push the boundaries of art and try and make our friends' jaws drop, but it has to look good when they're 75 years old.
Right. That's great. All right.
So.
Hey, listen, we're going to take a break. We're going to be right back with Artscape. When we come back with Kenny Brown, we're going to talk a little bit more about his tattoos. We'll be right back.